Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Fielding.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing? You guys listen to news radio?
Yep.
Good answer, right? Okay. Good. Okay. We're on FM too, actually, now. We're on 105.9. Absolutely. My front row excellent student knows all the answers to that. So I've been over at WBBM for about 7 years, but before that I was in TV for about 15 years, moving around the Midwest, paying my dues, I guess. So you guys are all interested in radio, right? What do you like? News? Do you want to be a jock? Music? You want to do news? Ooh, you got a good voice. I already can tell. See? Got the pipes, right? That helps. But you can also learn, and take voice lessons and go out there and learn to kind of have those pipes through radio too. But being a reporter is great. It's fun. And being a jock is fun. Radio is fun in general. And we're going to hope that everybody listens to radio for the end of time, so there'll always be jobs, right? And XM and Sirius is out there, so there's lots of opportunities as far as that goes. So the jobs are there, and even AOL radio, anything online. So, don't believe anybody who tells you that there's no jobs in media. I know that's why you're here in this room, because of that, but it's probably one of the best, most fun industries ever, okay? But you don't make any money for a long time, and that's the reality. If you're money motivated, you might as well leave now. Have people told you that already? No? Well, here's your reality check, folks. But what you don't make in money, you make in, the fun and the experiences that you have in radio. Eventually, you can make a good living. But, you come out of this school or college or wherever, high school, you can't expect to make probably much more than maybe 25 tops for the year. Everyone's gasping at that? I don't know. Yeah, but that's okay, because you know what? If you start out in a smaller market, which means like not Chicago, but maybe a Rockford, Illinois, which is a little west of Chicago, or like a South Bend, Indiana, or Madison, Wisconsin. Are you guys all from Chicago? Do you want to stay maybe close to home? Okay, no, that's a good answer too. Whether you do or you don't, there's so many options. You can go anywhere around the country and find, great jobs in smaller markets. But if you want to stay close to home, which I sort of did, not on purpose, but I started out in Peoria, Illinois. Ever been to Peoria? That's okay. It's kind of a college town. But I started out in television and working at NBC right there. And then I went to Rockford, Illinois, which is a smaller TV and radio market, but it's very close to Chicago, so there's lots going on there. And I did TV there, and then I went to Madison, Wisconsin, and then I went to Milwaukee, and then I came back to Chicago. So for me, it took me about 20 years to get back to where I wanted to be. I wanted to be back home because I grew up here and my family's here, that kind of thing. So sometimes it doesn't take that long, but it can sometimes. It depends on what your goal is. If you don't mind living around the country and experiencing that kind of thing, you have some great experiences in TV and radio and that kind of thing. So I've been doing this for about 25 years. I started when I was 5. Right? See, I don't look that old, right? So, but I started when I went to high school and I thought, do I really know what I want to do? You go to high school, most kids don't know what they want to do. But I remember my mom saying she's like, you should be a journalist. You like to write, you like to talk, and you like to tell stories. So I thought, well, maybe. And my high school really didn't give me a lot of opportunities. It was the basics, but I didn't really have any, we had a speech class, I think. Then I went to college, and I didn't even have the trade that you guys are learning here. You guys have such hands-on stuff to really go out there and learn here. My undergrad didn't have so much. They do now. I think they've put some more money into it. But I didn't really get much of an experience in my undergrad either. So one day I had a moment of bravery, and this is back in the 80s when there was telephone books. You guys probably weren't even born, some of you guys. Okay, they still are at our doorstep. I don't know why. No one uses those telephone books. You really? You do?
Of course. Well, I don't always look it up.
You don't use Google?
Sometimes, but if I'm in the car, then I use Google. If I'm at home, I grab a book.
Really? Okay. Well, you're probably the first person that said that. Anyways, so back in the day of telephone books, I opened the yellow pages under TV stations, and I just picked a station at random. I'm like, oh, NBC. I think they have Friends on that, whatever, something. And so I called the newsroom, and they answered, and I said, are you guys looking for interns this summer? And he said, yeah, start Monday. It's like, what? Yeah, freaked me out. I was like, okay. I had no idea what I was doing. Oh, it was probably the scariest thing I ever did, but it was why I am here today. And I went at the NBC station. They were really short-staffed because a lot of people take vacations in the summer, and they threw me into it right away. And I was holding that microphone with the little peacock on it, asking the mayor a question. I didn't even know the mayor's name. You know, I mean, I really didn't know what was going on. But, you know, you get into it really fast, and you're kind of forced to do it. And I made tons of mistakes, and the anchor yelled at me a couple times because I got something wrong and I didn't ask. You know, I was too afraid to ask what was going on, and so I kind of guessed. Never guess in journalism, okay? I think there's a sign right there. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. Something like that, you know, as a journalist, you got to get it right in the facts. And so that's something I learned kind of the hard way when I first was an intern. And what's an intern? You go, and most of the times you don't get paid. You get credit, maybe, but you get invaluable experience that you can put on your resume. And the minute you have that, the minute you guys in this class, you have this experience already, you have the edge above everybody else already because you've been out there doing this. You're hands-on in the studio. And you can go into a radio station and say, oh yeah, that's a, you know, I was going to use the word cart, but that's another old school. We don't use carts anymore. I know. Who said, oh my God. Yeah, do you know what that a cart is? You know, some people still use them. Well, the boards are like that. But in the old days, not too long ago, you know, they look like 8 tracks. And you put in there and you play the commercial. But they're all computerized now. But stuff like that you're going to know how to do because of this class, and you're going to get that edge above everyone else. So is this business tough? Yes. Everybody wants to be in fun radio, right? So how do you stand up, you know, against the others? Just learn how to do everything. Market yourself as utility player. Know how to do radio, know how to work a camera, know how to even web produce. Anybody put websites together here? Very good. Something to learn, because when you get out there, they're going to ask you all those things, because they don't hire a photographer, a radio person, a web person, a writer. You have to be all of it, for sure. That's the new journalist knows how to do everything. And again, I didn't graduate that long ago, but even when I graduated, I was only a reporter. I only held the microphone. Now, in TV at least, students are expected to know how to use a camera and and interview. You know, like a one-man band, we call them, that kind of thing. And in radio, we're being asked to take cameras out too. And in the digital age of social media, Facebook, Twitter, we also, as reporters and as jocks or engineers, whatever you guys decide, you're expected to utilize the social media to get your listeners, get your information out as soon as possible. You guys tweet? Twitter? Everybody has Twitter? Twitter? No? Well, Twitter has revolutionized at least the news business, for sure. Because I remember thinking, I'm not going to get on Twitter. 140 characters, that's ridiculous. Like, what would I possibly say for 140? That's really, I thought it was crazy. I think it was Ashton Kutcher was like the first one that was like into Twitter, and he had like 1 million followers. And I still didn't get the concept. I was like, I just don't get that. And my colleague, Steve Grzanich, he's a huge social media guy. He's always tweeting and always Facebooking and getting the information out while he's on the air. We all multitask that way. And he convinced me to go on Twitter, and it really changed my life as a journalist, because I can be out at a scene and I can say, like last week I interviewed Tim McGraw. It was random, but he was at the Outback Steakhouse with military families, okay? I tweet, Tim McGraw welcomes military families and says thank you, and then I say, the story coming up at 3:05. So, you know, I have, I think, 1,000 followers or something like that, and all of those people will get that message, and we hope they'll tune in at 3:05 to listen to the story. It's a tease, you know, coming up, and it's my way to get the information out immediately. You know, if something horrible happened downtown, like an explosion, God forbid, or something like that, we, as reporters on the scene through Twitter and even Facebook, but Twitter more so, can get that information out immediately to people who need to know it, even before radio, and radio is 24/7. But I could get that out before I even get on the air to tell the story. So it's amazing the immediacy of news and information, radio and TV and social media, and really the impact it's had to get things out. Which leads to, if you're on Twitter, you know a lot of people tweet things and they aren't even true sometimes. You guys have ever seen that? There's been controversy about how people, like the Boston Marathon, they were saying, you know, even like Sandy Hook, people were getting information out, but it wasn't really the right information. So you think about, is it, you know, how do you want to be first, but you want to be right? You know, hey, thanks, Alonzo. Being right is important, obviously, as a journalist. And Twitter hasn't really reined that in yet. You know, the accountability of being right. Because I see it on Twitter, and I say, oh, you know, so-and-so celebrity died, and we all retweet it. But we don't even know if it's true, right? So you have to, you know, that's something that we're talking about as journalists, you know, not only in our newsroom, but with students like you guys, about how to be better and accurate and fast, but on the scene with their social media. So that's kind of an extra thing that's been added to our checklist when we go out to a scene. So my typical day, I'm a reporter, so I anchor on the weekends, meaning I sit at one of those boards right there, and I work the board, and I talk in the microphone, and we have a computer in front of us, and we have a writer that writes our scripts. But if anything's going on, mostly it's all planned out, and it's written in front of you. But obviously if something breaks, you've got an earphone, and people are talking to you, just like in TV, same thing in radio. Okay, somebody's at the scene of a fire, and they want to go on the air right now. So and you're talking, and someone's talking in your ear, you're like, it's really hard to talk while somebody's talking to you. But that's something you learn too. But you go to, the beauty of radio, it's 24/7, you can go to it right away. Unlike TV, you kind of have to wait until 5 or 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock, most times, unless it's huge news. But radio's constant. Anything that happens, you can turn on the radio and it's on, at least with us. We're on all the time, whether there's a weather story or, you know, the Boston Marathon bombings, you know, something like 9/11, we're always on, and people can call in, and we can, if you're on the scene and you want to tell us about being stuck on Lakeshore Drive 2 years ago during Snowmageddon, we had everybody in those buses and the cars that couldn't leave Lakeshore Drive were on the air with us telling us what was going on, because we didn't even know that they were stuck out there and why they were stuck. So radio can be compelling and immediate and really history making. As a journalist, as someone who's in media, you really have a front row to history. Whether it's covering a fire or covering an accident or interviewing President Obama or going to his 50th birthday at the Aragon, which I got to do a couple years ago, you know, you witness history by just doing your job. And for me, I can't put a price tag on that, you know? And every day is different. For me, I couldn't be in a high rise, just like data entry. I would like jump out the window. It'd be so boring. You know, if you look for something, if you want variety, if you want to have opportunities, if you want to meet all kinds of people, this is the job that you want to be in. Whether you want to be a news person or a jock or even an engineer behind the scenes. We have engineers who work Bears games, and they go out to all the, you know, and make sure everything's fixed. You know, Lisa's microphone's not working. You know, they give me a new little connector and it works, you know. Or Lisa, press play. That's all you need to do, because I couldn't figure it out myself. We love engineers. They're part of everything. They're the guys behind the scenes, and we need them just as much as the folks in front of the camera, in front of the microphone, that kind of thing. So for me, I love it because every day's different, and I've had some amazing opportunities to really showcase some ordinary people and interview extraordinary, you know, celebrities as well, and you know, our president and things like that. And we're lucky that he's from our hometown and he comes here a lot, and we always have the opportunity to be a part of that as well. And but when you start out, I always encourage everyone to look elsewhere than we're in a big market here, obviously. You know, your markets are ranked: New York, LA, Chicago's number 3, and San Francisco and Dallas and Philadelphia. They're all really large cities, and they're ranked market-wise by their population. I encourage young people or people who want to be in this business early is to go to smaller markets, get that experience. And it sounds cliche, but to be that weekend warrior, that weekend DJ, you're a big fish in a little pond. It's so fun, and you learn so much right away. And if you ever want to get back to that, you know, big market, it's going to happen. It just might take a little bit. It's just like any job. You climb the corporate ladder, but you go to smaller places, and then you go higher, 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 and then you set a goal or you stay. Or you meet your person of your dreams and you stay, or whatever. You know, you want, a lot of people have big goals of going to big markets, but then they meet somebody and they end up staying. But you know, it depends on what your goals are and what you want. You keep that focus. You know, there's hope for anyone who wants to do this business and to stick with it. It gets very frustrating sometimes because holidays, weekends, nights, I still do those, which I couldn't tell you 25 years after I start that I'd still be working, you know, 4th of July and Christmas and Thanksgiving. That doesn't always happen. I'm at a station where I'm like the youngest person there. Everyone's been there longer than I've been alive. I mean, seriously, people have been there longer than 40 years. Did I say I'm 40? Oh, sorry. Anyways, but I'm lucky to work with a lot of veterans, but we're all waiting for them to retire so we can all have better schedules. No, kidding. But you learn from those veterans, I'm like, I've been here 7 years. Come on, it's time. But that's the drawbacks. Not a lot of money for a while, and nights, weekends, and holidays. Because radio never stops, and news never stops, and music really never stops on the radio. You never hear it take a break unless there's some kind of simulcast, which is a computer takes over and plays the music, which happens a lot too. But someone needs to press that button to work the computer. There's always someone there, a human of some sort. So we're all needed, which is a good thing. So there's a lot of sacrifices in this business, but it's so worth it. I love what I do, and it's been a long road, and I complain every time that I got to work a weekend, but you really feel accomplished at the end of the day because you either made someone happy or you helped someone or you informed someone. There's so many things you get back out of this business, for sure, especially if you're a journalist.